Hello, this is a quick tutorial about GENERA. GENERA is an add-on meant for Google Sheet that basically does two things. So the first thing is that it produces PDFs based on the data that is belonging to one of your sheets in the spreadsheet. And secondly, it sends these PDFs to custom email addresses with a custom body, a custom subject, and this automation there is automation that can be implemented as well. So whenever you receive a new form, you can produce PDFs based on the data coming in and send directly these PDFs to the email addresses you specify. Perfect. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you with GENERA and specifically with the menu that basically has a bunch of things, and I'm gonna tell you all about them. Going first with the settings, because this is where the juiciest stuff is, the bulk of it is. And the first thing I want to mention is that if you have any question at all, you can always refer to the guide that is linked in here. You can also access the link from the guide in here. Okay. So let's go through this menu here. So a row to process is the row where the data is, basically, that you want to use. What GENERA does is, given a mapping of columns to cells, and I'm gonna tell you more about it later, you're gonna fill a PDF template. So this is my PDF template. I made it. It's quite an easy one. You can, of course, customize it as much as you wish. I, for example, removed the grid lines, right? Or placed color images. Perfect. So what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna use the values in one of these rows, for example, the second row, and fill these PDFs with those values, all right? There is a mapping that I'm gonna introduce you later about this. Perfect. So this is the row to process. Then there is the data sheet, so where the data lies. For us, form is where the data is right now. And the PDF template sheet is where the PDF, right, is the template. You see, for example, now I updated it because I changed it, and this is where it lies for us. Perfect. Now, column for PDF name. I want to have a digression on this column for PDF name because I think it's worth it. So suppose that you want to have your PDF named with one of the columns that is already part of your sheet, right? So in this case, form, for example, you want the column for the surname to make the name of the PDF. Perfect. You're just gonna specify C and that's it. So they're gonna be named with these values here. Okay. This is one option. There is another option that you might want some custom names. And for that, you might proceed in this way. This is the suggested way that I encourage you to use. So you want to build a new column. You want to build a new column so that basically you're going to say, okay, instead of column C, I will use my custom column E, and I populate the column E how? This is the question. Now, I provided you both in the help and now a couple of formulas that depend on the kind of form that you have at your disposal. So if the form that you selected that you want is of this kind, so a normal spreadsheet, right? Then what you want to do is use array formulas. I'm gonna copy paste a formula here. Just this is an example, of course. Now, array formulas are formulas that need to be used once in order to populate a whole range of values. So in this case, I inserted the formula here, but the whole column gets filled. Now, it might be obvious to you, but I wanted to stress this because if you use normal formulas in all the different cells, in each cell, and you just fill these cells with formulas, when a new form comes in, it will not be producing the right name. So I encourage you to use the array formula. Of course, you can customize it as much as you want. This is just a concatenation of a prefix of whatever kind, and then two columns. If, for example, you wanted other columns, like, I don't know, you wanted instead of CB, you wanted BC, of course you can change it, right? Perfect. The other option, though, is this new kind of way of representing stuff in Google Sheet, which is a table. And in the table, this whole thing is not really necessary. So what I mean by that is, I already made an example, but let's suppose that we start from a new, and that we have a completely blank case. Yeah, so in this case, what I want to do is I want to add a column that is the PDF names, right? Okay, so I'm gonna say this is PDF name, okay. And just in this cell, I can specify, okay, I want this to be the concatenation of C, for example, and the name, which is B. Perfect. Of course, this is empty because now there is nothing in name and nothing in surname in all rows. But look at what happens when I submit something to it, right? Giovanna. Perfect. Now what happens is, you see that this gets populated and the new name appears, despite the fact that the cell we filled was this one. So this is kind of interesting. So you don't need to specify to use array formulas, sorry. You need just a formula in a cell. Perfect. So I wanted to stress this out because I think this is important for you to enjoy GENERA and experience it fully. We can move on from this topic. Maybe one thing, you can always switch from one version to the other by going here and saying, here this is in Italian, but basically this is making one form, the table form, into the normal spreadsheet. Sorry for the language, but you will find similar options. Okay, so let's proceed with the last row and last call in the PDF. So let's expand this a little bit by adding, some rows and some columns. Okay, so this is the template, right? And you might want to specify a specific region of this sheet that is your template. And this is done through these two values here. So 30, you can put it, in this case, maybe 13 or something like that. And you see that every time I change a value, it updates. The last column can be E as well. Perfect. So what happens is I'm selecting this portion here to be the portion that belongs, is gonna be part of the PDF. Okay. Now there is one thing to be stressed, that is this portion here is not necessarily reflecting the full PDF. And what I mean by that is that PDFs are printed as A4, are generated as A4 with GENERA, and therefore what happens is that you might want to see what an A4 is, so that you have an idea of how your template is going to reflect on the final PDF. And for doing that, you can go to GENERA, and once you have specified the right template, you can say insert A4 margins in template, and it's going to basically place the A4 map, the A4 margin. So you're going to see that our PDF, despite the fact that we selected only this region, only one region, right? The rest is gonna be populated with blank things, and this could be useful to you in order to prepare your template so that it fills the whole A4, right? This is for your convenience. This is just an image, so if you don't need it anymore, you can just remove it as easily as you inserted it, basically, and that's it. Okay. Now let's go to the binding, and skipping for a second the email portion. So the bindings are basically the mapping that I mentioned between the data sheet and the PDF template sheet. Okay, so in this case, I have the name that has to go in B6, right? And the name in the data sheet are in column B. So what I want to say is, please, for every column B, just put the value in B6. Thank you very much. And you're gonna add it, right? And it's gonna show in the table of the bindings. And you can do the same for the next one. So the surnames that are in column C, I want them to go in B7. These are merged cells, but basically you can refer to this as B7, right? So C is gonna go in B7 at binding. And B9 instead is gonna be D, if I remember correctly. Yes, great. DB9. All right, perfect. Now that we have this table of bindings, of course you can delete the bindings as you wish and update them, right? What we do now is generate a PDF. So for example, we might want to generate this one. We have selected that the name of the PDFs have to be column E. Perfect, everything seems good. We generate. Wait a couple of seconds. And you saw a flicker. This flicker is there because basically what happens is, in order for GENERA to ask you as little permission as possible without having access to your drive, without having access to anything, the way I found to do this stuff is to hide for a brief period of time some sheets and then unhide them. Yeah, basically this is the way it does it. It doesn't really affect the data at all. It is just a matter of visualization. There is a flicker for a second because of this hiding and hiding phase. Okay, so success. It was generated and we can open it. As you can see, it reflects the thing we said, right? The A4 margins are like this, okay, and this was in the top left part. Yeah, as expected. Perfect. With the fill data, as you can see. All right. So let's go back real quick here. One thing to mention now is the email part. Of course, we can enable the emails by going to this menu here, and we can select that the email column in this case is D. So all the emails are in column D, and these are going to be the emails receiving, right, the email with the PDF attached to them. We can also specify the sender name, the subject, and the body. You feel free to change the placeholders, of course, as you need. Great. One thing I had to mention, I forgot about it, is all these different settings are related to the document. We're gonna dwell a little bit more on it in a second. But basically, the idea is you're not going to be losing these settings once you close and open the document. Just to be clear, perfect. So now let's see what happens when we want to send the email. All right, so let's go again with the row number 2. This is my email address, and this is also the help email address. If you need any help, you can use this to contact me. Yeah, let's see what happens when we generate a PDF. Row 2 again, here we go. Now it does its thing, we expect the flicker, right? And then the success message says, yes, that it was generated, but also it was sent to this email address. Perfect. So we can still download it from the link, but we can also go to my email and see that here it is PDF as attachment. Great. And we can go back. This whole thing can be automated. So now I would like to go through the menu here and the other portions. But before doing that, I want to mention one little thing. In case you wanted more email addresses as recipient for your mail, what you have to do is just place them between commas. So separated by commas, sorry. So in this case, if I did address at gmail.com, and I run this thing, it would send this to 2 email addresses, both as recipients. Okay. Now let's go through the other options. So you can, as I mentioned, install a trigger that basically does the whole generation and sending of the email, if you enabled it, whenever a new submission for the form arrives. Okay. Here you're not supposed to have 2 forms in one spreadsheet. This was just for the sake of having the example. Yeah, so 1 form per spreadsheet. Otherwise, all the different generations are going to be a bit messy. Great. So you can install, and you're just going to say, yeah, there is prop trigger installed. And of course, you can disable it whenever you want, just by deleting the triggers. So you can delete them, and that's it. Okay, so enabling and disabling this automation. Okay. Now, you can print the settings. And why is it useful? So this is gonna tell you basically all the different things that GENERA is using to produce the PDF, right? And send the email, for what matters. So this is useful for sharing, for storing, for example, but it can also be used for using the same or similar values, similar settings for other documents without having to put again all the different options and blah, blah, blah. So what I recommend you to do is you just copy this, and once you have copied it, you can use it in another menu item here that is import. So you can import everything. It is gonna tell you that basically all the different settings are gonna be changed and everything. So if you paste it, you can also, let's make an example. We might want to change, for example, the PDF last column. Instead of E, we want it to be F, just so that you see that it updates everything. Let's press OK. Okay, import was fine. And now, in order to see it, we should relaunch GENERA, and you can see that the last column now is an F and it's not an E. Of course, now we can change it back, but all the different bindings are here. Great. Once we have seen this, we can also see that we can delete everything. So instead of going through one by one, we can delete all of them. So yes, delete all, please. And now if we open it again, it basically restarts anew with the old placeholders. And just for the sake of completeness, perfect. Just for the sake of completeness, import. Okay. If we open it again, yeah, they are as they were previously. Perfect. So thank you very much. I hope this was useful. And in case you have any further question, please make sure to drop me an email, and first look at the instructions in here. They're gonna be definitely helpful for you to figure out how GENERA works. Thanks again for your time. Enjoy.